My name's Reza Allahbakshi. Today I'm sitting down with Robert Young Pelton. He's an author, journalist, and an explorer of dangerous places. In fact, he's written a book called The World's Most Dangerous Places. This is a book I picked up about 10 years ago. It had a profound impact on my life and how I view danger and how I interacted with the world, and it allowed me to push my own limits. In this book, he kind of gets across the point that what people are fearing isn't real danger, but it's really a fear of the unknown. We go over concepts on travel, how to navigate dangerous places, and in this particular episode, we are going to get background about the author, the man, the myth, the legend, and who he really is. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe if you do, and we'll keep these coming. Thanks. My name is Reza Allahbakshi. Me and you have known each other for a long time. I found out about you probably about 10 years ago when I was teaching survival skills for SE knives. Okay, I bought your knife. It came with a book. I said, oh, this guy's an author. I was a journalist at the time, just coming out of journalism school, and I found it very fascinating. So when I came and met up with you, this is when I first discovered about this book. Funny enough, my first copy of this book was I picked up in a used bookstore.
As most people do,
and
to save the money.
You know, I love it. It's dog-eared, all that. But the interesting thing that I found about is I traveled to a lot of these places, and I still found it helpful. It was still very helpful for me.
There's a tonality and a personality that makes it enjoyable to read, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's about 1,000 pages, but you have statistics. But like you said, it's funny, and it's easy to engage with and to read and to get through. So even though it's a big book, it's not like you have to read it from the front to back. You can kind of read the sections that you need to get into. So when you open this book, it's there's an about the author section. Right. And I just want to introduce everyone to who you are. Okay, right. So I'm going to read a little thing here. Pelton, you're 67 years old. 68. 68. Bad research. Oh, man.
You'll never work on this book.
Hey, well, when I wrote this, you've had a birthday, I think. You've had 3 parts of your life, okay? Early on, you were a lumberjack, boundary cutter, tunneler, driller, hardware store manager, and blaster's assistant, okay? You became a marketing guru, and when you were done making money in corporate America, you had the feeling you needed something more, which led on to a journey of discovery. You spent a good part, and still do, in remote regions, researching, traveling, and meeting rebel and military groups, and your unique context and breadth of experience with insurgent, jihadi, rebel, criminal, and terrorist groups bring an unusual insight to your interpretation of world events. And it's true. It's like you're the source. You're the guy. You're the source.
But that guy doesn't exist. Like the guy that's like a copywriter, or the guy's like a lumberjack, and then he's a best-selling author, and then he's like on a TV series on Discovery, and he works. That guy doesn't exist. That's completely fictional. And that's the problem I have, is that I made the mistake early on when I was invited to go on the major networks and promote my book that I would wear my custom-made suit. And I would have my tie and, beautiful suit. And they'd be looking around for like the adventure guy, the guy with the parrot and the little safari jacket. And I'm like, no, that's me. And then they'd be like, are you sure that's you? Because when I ran my business, I used to take a month off and do these expeditions and go off in remote places. So I never really saw the difference between being a businessman and I guess they call it an adventurer, right?
Yeah.
When I became an adventurer full time, it was basically branding. I had a publishing company. I wanted somebody to write a book about dangerous places. I couldn't find anybody.
Interesting.
They said it's a crazy idea. I went to booksellers. I went to agents, and I said I want to write a book about the world's most dangerous places. And they said, why would anybody want to buy a book to a place they don't want to go? And I said, well, back in the day, in the 1800s, 1700s, there were nothing but adventurers' guides to dangerous places.
That's right.
Now you got like Hawaii. I don't need a guide to Hawaii. Right. I don't need to know about Paris in like 2 inches of book. But if I go to Afghanistan...
Who were you writing the book for?
Well, for me, because I spent a lot of time and effort to get into places like Afghanistan, like Colombia, whatever, and to find rebel groups and link up with jihadis or people that were fighting up in the mountains. It takes a lot of work to do that. And I would note all the email addresses, phone numbers, and people are just like, what the hell is that?
Right.
So, maybe it's naive. I don't think it is. But I was like pre-internet gathering together all the information you needed to go into war zones. And then once you were there, I kind of laid out who's fighting who and the history of the conflict and what to stay away from. So maybe sometimes conflicts are in the news, but there's like landmines from a conflict 20 years earlier that you wouldn't know about. So I basically laid the book out as a in three parts. The first part is what is dangerous. And again, most people are afraid of things, but those aren't necessarily the things that will kill you. So statistically, I go through what will kill you with the absolute smug assumption that you have 100% probability of getting killed, of dying somewhere, sometime. So how you change those odds is up to you, right?
Mm-hmm. So most people are like afraid of the guy with the gun in these places.
No, it's funny. Like statistically, again, because I'm a facts guy, not an opinion guy.
Right.
Most people are afraid of high prices, and the second thing is of dirty rooms. Right. Third is crime. Third is like, oh, I'm away. I got all my stuff with me. Will I get robbed? Right. But they have no idea because tourist bureaus don't provide data, and Afghanistan sure as hell didn't provide data on the likelihood of getting killed. So I was cobbling these things together and then writing this with a very sort of dark humor. Because ultimately, you can prepare for anything and everything, but it's that thing that comes right out of like nowhere that's going to take you out, right?
You can have the best day of your life, and then it's the worst day of your life.
You can die of food poisoning. You can get stabbed in the back by some crazy guy. I mean, your bus can go over a cliff. Right. It's just but the point is, if you narrow those things down, you feel like you're in control. And the reality is that it's much safer to be traveling than to be at home, because you're more likely to slip and fall in your tub than to get killed in a bus accident. Right. So the first part was basically what's dangerous, statistically what can kill you. Second part is a survival guide, like how do you deal with various things like landmines, guns, bribery, things that people worry about but don't necessarily have good access to resources on them. And the third part was really the countries, right? The
individual countries.
Afghanistan, Colombia, whatever was.
So it's like a guide on the individual country.
And I would always add the USA to this book. So I'd add the USA because foreign tourists were terrified of coming to America because all they saw in the news were people shooting each other and robberies, whatever. So the combination of all those, with the stories, with the guides, with the survival stuff, ended up being about 1,000 pages. But the reason why this needs to be a video vlog or a YouTube type product is because you can't keep up with the number of changes and conflicts that break out. Right. They had a war in Nagorno-Karabakh that lasted a week. Jeez. So there's no way you're going to get it into a book, get it to a publisher, and get it back and be able to cover that. So it takes about a year to write a book. So if you start at the beginning and you start gathering the information, if you work very quickly, it takes about a year to gather the information. And then by the end of that year, the stuff that you gathered in the first part of the year is probably outdated. So it's like painting the San Francisco Bridge. As soon as you start, you finish. But then there's actually the publishing process. Now, there is instant publishing. I was one of the very first people to use instant publishing for my book, but it was too expensive back then. Now, many of the books you buy on Amazon are actually print on demand, right? You order a book, it doesn't exist. They print it, they slap a cover on it, ship it to you. So you could go with a print on demand product, but again, that year-long process. Yeah. And the other thing, which is not part of the book, but it's called the Black Flag Cafe, was really a forum for people to meet other people and talk about what they wanted to do and try to.
I remember I was part of that back in the day. Yeah.
It still exists. I mean, the idea is to network. So I'm going to Myanmar, Burma. I'm going to meet up with the rebels, or I'm working there for an NGO. Anybody been there? And then people will chime in. Well, social media now allows that to occur. So you can watch one of these video pieces and you can comment, hey, anybody going here, there, whatever. Or you can say, that guy's an idiot because, this is my experience, and that's fine. So, everybody has an opinion. I only have my experience on going to these places and then communicating it as best I can to other people.
Right. And it's kind of cool because, I mean, this is a big book. It's kind of heavy and bulky to carry around. So, if we kind of digitize this.
So here's the only downside to not publishing a book. People have told me that they got laid more times by carrying this book around on the subway, sitting in the park reading it.
I believe it for sure.
It's like walking a dog. So like, oh man, what's that book you're reading? And then like, boom, it's like you're a man of adventure or a female of adventure. And they do have dog-eared copies. There are literally books with the corners worn off and tape, holding the spine together. And so that's the only downside about not having it as a book. But I just think that the book is a form of minute by minute safety information is probably not the best format. So video, Yeah.
First steps of going to a dangerous place. What kind of guidance would you give them?
Okay. Well, first of all, you live in a dangerous place. No matter where you live, statistically, you are more likely to get a problem in your home, cut yourself with a knife, slip on the bathroom floor. So the idea of going to a dangerous place becomes relative. And that's why the very first part of the book is what is dangerous. So you want to go to Libya, right? You can go to Libya. You can stay in a nice hotel. You can go see tourist old ruins, things like that. Have a nice dinner. Get back on the plane, go home, and say, what the heck was that all about, right? You can go to Afghanistan. You can buy tours to Afghanistan. You can go see what remains of the Buddhas. You can go visit a lake and meet a lot of nice, fun people. And again, wonder what the heck all this noise about danger is. Right. You could be coming home late from a party and some guy sticks a gun in your face and steals your car and blows you away. I mean, I don't judge danger as being that's super dangerous and that's not so much dangerous. Now, we do have star ratings. So I am asked by people to rate countries by how dangerous they are. So I would, for example, as we're talking today, I would say Gaza would be the most dangerous place in the world because they're literally dropping bombs on civilians. And if you were there doing media work or medical work or visiting family or whatever, that is a dangerous place. And I could easily give people advice on how to avoid bombings, how to work yourself around these military advances, things like that. But a month from now, that's not going to be the case, right? So it's going to shift very quickly. There's places where you're very likely to get sick and not have access to good medical care. Most of Central Africa has some of the scariest things in the world that can crawl inside your body and make you feel sick. But at the same time, you have access to more health care on the street in Africa than you do in the U.S.
That's interesting because I remember watching an old interview with you, and you said, this was probably a decade ago at least, and you were saying, well, this book's actually becoming kind of hard to write because the world is becoming safer at an extraordinary rate. Do you still find that to be true today?
Yes. Statistically, again, right?
Statistically.
There are less wars now. There are different kinds of wars. There are, for example, in Ukraine. You can go to Ukraine. You can avoid the war. You might see a couple missile hits here or there. You might be inconvenienced by some kind of checkpoint or something like that, but you can steer away from the war.
Or the missile bells, the missile alarms will go off.
The alarms that go off at night. Yeah, or you could go directly to the war, right? Yeah. And you could see what it's like, people fighting on the front line. So we've managed risk a lot differently ever since 9/11, right? We literally had embeds for journalists, where your journalist goes into a war and he's protected. He's got like a Kevlar vest and he's got a helmet on and he's got safety training and he's got his NBC kit and he knows what to do if you're choking and how to apply a splint or a tourniquet or whatever. It's not like I call it the old days, when there were literally like a dozen guys that traveled around the world, went right up to the front lines, took all the pictures, sent them up to their stock photo agency, hoped that they got a double spread in Paris match and 10K. And if they didn't, they went back out there again, like, I need more blood, I need more shooting, whatever. And then they would leave.
Away, yeah?
Well, yes and no. Yes, some died, some were killed.
Yeah.
But again, statistically, more civilians die in wars than soldiers do. And yes, journalists are noted when they get killed, but they're not necessarily the most dangerous job. The most dangerous job for journalists is a place like Mexico, where you're literally writing about the cartels and they say, I'm going to come and kill you, right? Right now, Gaza is the most dangerous place for journalists. Over 50 journalists have been killed, many of them in targeted killings, meaning that whoever Israel sends an artillery shell or whatever, they know those are journalists and they get hit and they die. So that would be a dangerous place for journalists. But if you go to Burma, it's only dangerous because you get arrested a lot, but they're not going to kill you per se. They might put you in jail. And again, this is why the book is not one flavor fits all. So back to your question, if somebody said, I'm going to a dangerous place, what should I do, right? Well, the most dangerous thing in the world is ignorance. If you're not doing your homework before you ask me that, then I caution you, because if you want to go to Afghanistan, if you want to go to Syria, if you want to go to some place where you kind of know that things are happening, but you don't know exactly what, you need to be making friends with people that live there. You need to be using social media. You need to be like Googling and all the tools that are available to you. And ultimately, you will find someone who lives in that place that you want to go, and he will tell you what's going on there and tell you what to bring, what to prepare for. Yeah. Secondly, is you need to have the right brain, and I tell people this all the time. When there's a fire, some people run in and some people run out. If you're a run out guy, you do not want to go to war zones. If you're a run-in kind of guy and you know how to help and you know a little bit of first aid and you're really interested in doing something productive, then by all means go to a dangerous place. But be prepared for the mental consequences when you see a lot of gore and people screaming and hopelessness and whatever. And just going to a place is probably not well advised, right? Going with a purpose, absolutely well advised. So when we went to Ukraine, we were helping a charity deliver first aid kits to the front lines, and we were filming their efforts doing this, and we were part of them, and we got involved in a little bit of adventure and whatever. But would I go there just to take pictures and get killed? I don't know. I don't think that's a very productive. Because everybody's got a camera now, right? So do I need to go all the way to a front line with a random artillery shell landing on me and thinking?
War tourism, right? Some people do that.
Yes. Well,
bizarre.
Yeah, and again, we go through the various people that work overseas, the various people that go into danger zones. Yeah. And I don't judge, I'm just saying that use your brain, use your skills, bring something with you, do something that's productive, make it a positive, productive. And this book is part of that.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of people spend a lot of effort getting me into places, risking their lives, and I think, I needed to write about that. I needed to talk about it.
Well, it's a really wealth of information. It really needs to be shared. In this particular episode, I think we just want to introduce the audience to it, and we don't really want to go through everything right now, but through this series we'll go chapter by chapter and we'll go over each of these topics and attack these.
So here's something to think about. The one thing that always impresses me is the amount of media and the amount of tools and the amount of distribution platforms that are available for free. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from making a video, writing a book, singing a song, whatever. But how little is communicated that is absolutely productive for people staying safe. Yeah. It's not a sexy topic. I could talk about my new phone and probably get more clicks or more follows, or this new camera lens that I bought that's different than the last one I bought. And I would get people go, ooh, and so
specifically talking about media content, YouTube, and survival skills. Right. I'm hoping that a little bit through this series is we can. I mean, a lot of the survival tips out there are getting people killed. I mean,
I don't agree. I don't think that somebody says don't drink the water and then the guy dies because he drinks the water. I think what's happening is that people are bragging about, look at me, I'm in Afghanistan, right? Yeah. So what? There's plenty of people. There's an old lady right behind you. Like, she's in Afghanistan too. Then there are people who are saying, here's how you rub two sticks together when you get lost in the woods. And I'm like, I'm not going to get lost in the woods. So what's missing is the practical information for a specific place or a specific activity in which you feel more empowered to be safe, or to at least enjoy yourself more and not be freaking out all the time.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, because a lot of people think the lion's going to kill them and that's the sexy thing and that's the thing they're going to cover on TV, but really it's the mosquito, it's the little bug. It's
the most dangerous animal in the world. The most dangerous animal in the world is the mosquito. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean you should go out and buy $5,000 worth of mosquito nets, repellent, whatever. I can take you through the different species of mosquito, when they bite, where they bite you. And I was the guy with the sexy wool socks and the long sleeve shirts, while everybody else had the little, granny pants and getting malaria in the jungle because it's hot and it's got all this nice tropical running gear, and the mosquitoes just feasted on them. Whereas me, I just probably taste like shit, but just simple things like long sleeves.
Yeah.
I never wear bug repellent. I don't have any sort of fancy, Now I do sleep with a mosquito net when I'm in a malarial area.
Same here, yeah.
Just because they keep me awake. It's like, zzz, or the little things that drop on your face while you're sleeping. But at the same time, I would be more worried about other things. Like, for example, I was outdoors with a guy and they wanted to set up tent on the river. And I said, look at the rocks. I said, what do you mean? Look at the rocks. There's no bush up to like 20 feet. And they're like, what does that mean? I said, they have flash floods here.
Yeah.
So if it's raining 5 miles away, the rocks being scoured like that means that the water is like 20 feet high, and you're sleeping. You want to sleep next to the water because you're lazy, right? So they're like, well, why do I put my tent up there? And I said, I'm putting my tent up there. Nothing will happen tonight, but I'll sleep like a baby. You'll keep listening for the sound of water. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that
kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
But is it practical? Is survival boring? Is survival actually boring? Like,
No.
if you want to live and you want to live to a ripe old age, is survival kind of boring?
Okay, so the word survive means to rise above or to live better. Survive, life, right? So it's not about not dying. It's about enjoying where you are. It's about being in the middle of a desert and enjoying it, not being freaked out by it. When I worked in the bush, I would always make a beautiful campsite, with my chainsaw, with a table, and I had a spring for the bathroom, and I had a shower literally had a door on it with plastic, and I would take great pride in making a beautiful camp. And then when it's time to go, we just got rid of it, burned it, whatever. When I go out in the desert, I enjoy being in the desert.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of the desert.
Exactly, yeah.
But I have the things I need, like water or whatever, to survive. So surviving is really not about the world sucks, I hope I don't die. It's about how could I enjoy myself, whether I'm in New York City, whether I'm on the front lines in Ukraine, and just little things. Like, you remember I brought gifts when we were in Ukraine. I brought knives and things like that, patches. There's just certain things you can do where you build friendships.
Yeah.
And those friendships yield, benefits, and then suddenly you're enjoying yourself as opposed to being terrified.
Well, I think that's one of the nice things about going to these dangerous places.
You keep saying dangerous places. So my book's called The World's Most Dangerous Places, right? And it is literally the dozen or so places where they're actively killing people. And in those areas where they kill people, there's areas where they're not killing people. There are people that are not killing people. So in other words, I'm just trying to steer you.
Where I'm going with this is like...
but what I'm saying is I don't encourage people to go to a dangerous place because danger is everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There's risk everywhere. Every time you make a decision to go to the bathroom, go to Walmart, there's danger involved. You get in your car, you just increase the amount of danger, right?
Yeah.
You didn't put your seatbelt on, you increase the amount of danger. Right. You're texting on your phone, you just increase the amount of danger.
Right.
So that's all.
There's a lot of anxiety out there, though, and I'm saying that, and where I'm going, you just made a good point, is through knowledge you can quell a lot of things.
Can you, though? Because
get out of your box a little bit, maybe travel, and because why would someone go there?
So the reason you're doing this, not some old fart asking me old fart questions, is I don't know, because I remember something that's very important. When I went to Afghanistan and Cambodia, I realized that people were traumatized. They weren't as outgoing and as happy and as... It's because they'd experienced war their entire lives, right? And we have to remember something, that from September 11th, 2001 onward, many people were exposed to death and violence on a daily basis. They weren't necessarily in it, but the world was a dangerous place to them. The idea of a global war on terror, if you flip that inside out, that means that everybody's trying to kill you. You just don't know who it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, why would I travel? Why would I go outside of my apartment? Who do I trust? You have a beard. Are you sure you're not a terrorist? You sure look like that guy that tried to kill that guy. So I grew up in an era, which would be the 60s and the 70s, where the only war was like Vietnam, right? I mean, there were small wars here and there, but I grew up in an era where there wasn't war. That you never even thought about people blowing stuff up or whatever. And in the 90s, when I first started this book, the most dangerous people I talked to were militia people, white militias in America, hoarding guns and talking about blowing up things. And lo and behold, they did blow stuff up, like, the Oklahoma and places like that. So I was telling people about dangerous places, like, yeah, right here, like America. There's terrorists in America. And they'd be like, no, man, the Chinese are coming to get us. The Russians are coming. Like, no. So
you did an episode on it for dangerous places.
Yeah, so what's interesting is I'm me. So I only have one perspective. I can only absorb so much, and it's all filtered through my experiences, my background. People say I'm crazy. It's like, no, I just don't have fear. I don't have a sense of like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I measure the risk. I take the risk if I want to. I don't take the risk if I don't want to. Mm-hmm. But there's some people that are traumatized. They actually have PTSD. They have a form of fear or kind of concern, or they get sweaty just thinking about doing what I do. And like I said, like some people run in the building when it's burning and some people run out. I think there's a lot more people that are running out now than are running in. So it's not as attractive to say, oh, I just came back from the war. I just came back from this war. I just almost got in a plane crash over here and I was doing this and the guy tried to kill me. And they're like, that's not very interesting. Like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? But I'm like, flip it around. Like, school shootings? I didn't grow up with school shootings.
Right.
Carjackings on the street. I didn't grow up with that. I didn't have the sense of random domestic violence. I didn't have fentanyl. I didn't have things that would kill you in one drop or something. It's
interesting.
So this is the conversation that I like having with people. It's like, oh, you think that's cool and that's dangerous, but what about growing up in Columbine and like
over and over COVID?
So there's a lot of things that are dangerous to people that I don't even.
But I think it's important to discern real dangers from made-up dangers, and that helps for people to understand that.
Of course.
That idea that usually that danger that they have not experienced yet is actually not as bad.
So take it one step further. We live in an environment where social media is the main source of information for most people. So in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you would watch network television or cable news and you would see a bomb go off. But you'd be fairly sure that whoever was describing this would, as best he can, accurately describe what it was, where it was, what happened, whatever. Social media now, I can see that same image and 20 different interpretations of who that is. I can see old pictures that they blame on Israel, and I can see modern assassinations that they say are Russian or Ukraine. People are bombarded with confusing, scary ideas now. Yeah. And whether it's the deep state or Antifa or something, they're coming to get you, like Black Lives Matter, they're coming to your neighborhood, they're doing this. It's like fear is a tool. It's a way to drive engagement on social media. It's a way to get people involved in things they wouldn't even care about, that have no physical manifestation in their lives, but somehow exist in their brain. And this is a very Soviet idea, that to keep people arguing and fearful, because then they don't do productive, big things.
It's a very old idea, isn't it? It's almost like a virus of the mind. Religions have used this tactic for thousands and thousands of years.
Religions have said, oh, the Muslims will kill you if you go on this, if you go to here, they'll kill you, right? The Christians will kill you if you go over here. But more importantly is that after 9/11, we polarized our view of the world. So remember, it was like Russia. We don't go to Russia, we don't go to China, they're bad people. Crazy people running it, blah, blah. And also, Muslims, they're going to kill you. Like, don't go to Afghanistan. Taliban's going to get you. Don't go to Iraq because the insurgents are going to get you. Bin Laden's around every corner. So these things are not scary to me at all, but they are implanted in people's brains who haven't been there as being scary. So,
well, hopefully we can deprogram people that are watching this a little bit.
So, okay, it's funny. It's like if you're an alcoholic, you go to a thing, you say, I'm an alcoholic. You have to admit that you're afraid of something, right? You have to literally say, I am a fearaholic. Like, I am afraid of doing the following. Now, there are chemical and physical and emotional reactions in people that will make them freeze. Like, so you can't just say, don't worry.
Fight or flight, yeah.
Yeah, and
it's a real thing, for sure.
So you have to kind of take them through slowly. And we used to have the Boy Scouts. We used to have like going camping out all night. And what's that sound? And oh my God. And so people used to be slowly exposed to what they thought was dangerous, and they would develop confidence and not be so fearful about things like guns and things like that. Now I think if I pulled out a gun in a school or in a parking lot or store, people would freak out. They would start screaming. The cops would come.
Things have changed, yeah.
And I make knives. It's the same thing. I get banned on social media because that's not appropriate for our audience. Say, well, how do you cook your food?
Mm-hmm.
With a knife, right? It's like more people are killed with kitchen knives than any knife tiny pocket knife that I make. So we do have this irrational fear of things that don't even deserve to be feared.
Yeah.
And again, that's not me, right?
No.
That's some generation or some group that's come up and saying that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope we bring some rationality back into the world, and when we go over
that's
all
your
these
job.
topics, because these topics are very cool in here. I mean,
it's important. So I write a book. I do documentaries. I do things that are me doing stuff, and there it is, right? And I try to be as transparent as possible at how I got there, what actually happened, and you judge whether it's dangerous or not. But that's not why I went there. I went there to show you something that would go, wow, that's what it's like in that country, whether it's Afghanistan, South Sudan, Somalia, or whatever. Today, we watch a lot of artificial violence, whether it's Marvel characters or whether it's video games, or we watch a lot of digital murders, digital killing, explosions, crashes, fistfights, kung fu. We see John Wick literally murder, I don't know,
hundreds or thousands of people.
Every 2 hours we get more murders.
I watched The Killer yesterday,
and
it's the mind of a psychopath.
So how do you take someone that consumes that much synthetic violence and say, okay, we're going to Afghanistan, and they carry guns there? But when do they use them? How do they use them? How far can they shoot? How many bullets are in the magazine? At what point should I run? These are things that have nothing to do with video games, nothing to do with John Wick or whatever. But these are all tools that you need to know. And I don't know if someone goes to let's say Yemen, and there's a guy with a gun over his shoulder, and they freak out. Or do they go, that's an AK-47. It's an old Chinese-made one. He's got 12 in a mag, and that guy hasn't fired that gun in 100 years. So that's a skill that's hard to learn. But it's even more difficult if you start with the concept of synthetic violence. That these things that are in your brain, thousands of gunshots, thousands of explosions, fist punch, if you think those things don't hurt you.
Yeah.
You can whack your shin on an airport luggage cart, and that'll hurt more for a week, right?
Yeah.
Than what you see in a video game where somebody's doing kung fu.
Yeah.
So that's my point, is that mindset needs to be addressed before you say, I'm going to go do something dangerous, because danger is the currency of cool, right? Like a skateboarder is cooler than a poet.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who does parkour is a lot cooler than a bricklayer, right? It's more dangerous to be a bricklayer than a parkour runner. It's like construction is more dangerous. A truck driving job is more dangerous than a skateboarder, but somehow they're not on Red Bull channel, And again, communicating the real dangers. Why do you want to do this? What do you hope to achieve? How do you prepare? Also requires addressing the mindset that the person starts with.
Sounds like philosophy.
No, it's just think about the military. The military takes kids from every walk of life, usually in their teens, and teaches them to kill people. And I don't know how they get there, but they use a number of tools to get them looking the same, acting the same, thinking the same. Then they perceive the enemy as someone that's going to kill them, and then they use the tool or weapon. They have to kill that person, and then they're deployed, and then hopefully that kicks in and gets rid of the moral barrier of killing people, right? You can use the same thing for safety. You can take someone that has no knowledge of anything, get them used to the real dangers, the real things they should think about, how to conduct themselves in a foreign environment, how to make friends, how to find the right place to stay, how to make sure you don't get ripped off of the restaurant. I mean, this sounds very mundane, but they don't teach that in the military. I used to teach that to Navy SEALs. I used to teach that to Special Forces guys, how to survive in dangerous places. Because when they go in, they have a place to sleep, they have food that's given to them, they got a plane, a helicopter that picks them up.
Right.
And, one of my deployments with Special Forces in Afghanistan, I'm looking around like, it's kind of like a strip mall in the Midwest, right? There's your Burger King, there's a massage place.
The mentality is wild. I've done dozens of survival trips. I mean, no water, no nothing, no knife, hiking across. And the worst situation we ever got into was with an Army sniper. and he almost died. He got lost because he thought we were moving too slow, and he wanted to get, he wanted to finish the mission.
Right.
But he was used to having backup. He was used to being able to radio someone.
Or more importantly, this is really the mindset is he feels like he's in a hostile environment and he has to get out of it. And they teach SEER. They teach all kinds of survival things in the military, right? They make you eat a rabbit and cook it, and you got to dig a hole, and you got to make a tarp, and they teach you that, but it's not necessarily what they want you to do. You might end up doing that, but at the same time, the goal is always to get back to home base and get replenished and back out in the field. It's not like I want to go out there and just chill.
Yeah.
I want to sit on a mountaintop and just look at an eagle flying.
So are there lessons in this book for normal people?
Yeah, so the most rewarding thing about this book is people saying, you changed my life. I was going to be a stockbroker. I was going to be a teacher. I was going to do this, but I decided, no, I'm going to do my dream. I'm going to go work in Africa and drill wells. I'm going to go be in the Foreign Service and, get postings in exotic places. I'm going to do that thing, right? Because my story starts with me doing my thing because I was a poor kid and I just wanted to, I needed to make money, and I was very successful in making money, and I was very talented and worked hard and everything. And then my mentors died, in the ages of 50. My father died, never saw 60. And I was in my 40s and I'm like, that's me 10 years from now. And I'm not going to be able to make that call, whether I live to 60, 70, 80, whatever,
Yeah.
So if I don't do what I want to do, I'm not going to do it. So I had to use the same skills I have, which is survival and marketing. And I said, okay, I'm going to be that guy that goes into the most dangerous places, and I come back with films and books, whatever.
It's a call to action, because I want to say that having this book and meeting you changed my life too, because it made me just get shit done. Like I decided I can't wait till tomorrow. I need to do these things now.
I'm not a motivational guy, but I can tell you that the most valuable thing on earth is time and happiness. And people say, oh, you don't need to be happy, you need to be successful. And I say, what's successful? You make $1 billion and you're unhappy, is that successful? You run out of time because you spent every day working and traveling, and you ignored your children and your pets and the trees and the flowers. It sounds very hippie, but you realize that time is the most precious thing, and your health, of course, is very critical. So why not learn everything about that?
Right.
And they go, well, I need money, I need this. I said, I didn't have any money. Nobody paid me millions of dollars to go hitchhiking across.
No, and the strangest thing about these lessons is is that you build this type of self-reliance that you can come back and then incorporate it into your success, if that is money or your job.
When I was 50, I took this very expensive executive health test, and they do everything, mind, body, and make you run on a treadmill. And there's 2 psychiatrists involved for your mental health. And there's one that does sort of Freudian, tell me this and tell me that, why do you do this? And there's one that gets people off of ledges. So she's bouncing things off you to see how you react, to see how you're thinking, right? Quick term. So the first one said, you're the happiest person that I think I've met in this thing that we're doing. And I said, no, you're bullshitting. I said, no, you just like living. You like the things that you have, and you like the people you're with. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I think that's a great compliment, right? The other one says, you are the most, Mac, are you whining? Because we want to play, right?
Yeah, it's about that time.
And the second one, who does the jumpers, we're going to play. So the second one that does the jumpers said, you are one of the more centered people I've seen. And I don't know what that means. And she says, you're just calmly sitting in a place where everybody wants to be. You don't need to go there, or there. You just like it where you are now. And that's a nice place to be, because you're not yearning for something. And there was a question. If you could do something that you really want to do and you could do more of it, what would you do? And I said, well, I think I'd like to spend more times walking with my dogs. It's not like a productive thing. It doesn't generate any income. It's not like part of any exercise or whatever, but it's just mentally a place where I feel like everybody's happy, the dogs are happy, I'm with and they said, do more of it. Yeah. And I thought, wow, okay, so there's your psychological analysis, in which ask yourself, what would I like to do more of? do more of that. And then it's like, damn, you just trapped yourself.
Yeah, easy.
So when you say dangerous places and you say, survival, I'm saying that what limits people is often, oh, that's scary. Like what happens if? What happens with? Getting a job, finding an apartment, meeting friends, not getting ripped off, whatever. These are all fear-related items, right? And when you look at the most extremes of the world and you're able to deal with those other things are kind of simple. They shrink very quickly and become just part of doing business.
Right, and you start embracing that.
Yeah, like
you
imagine.
go towards it. You start going toward it. Like you said, you're now running into the building.
Yeah, but now the other thing that people should remember is that there's this adrenaline myth, right? That people that do dangerous things are adrenaline junkies. And there's a very dangerous world in which you need to shock your system repeatedly to generate just an average response in life, right? And I would admit that I'm probably like the poster child for ADHD. I mean, when I was a kid, I was reading big giant books from grade 1, and I wasn't doing my classes, and I argued with the religious teachers about like it's impossible, so I admit that a lot of people are constantly questing for new things, interesting things, more and more and more. And I guarantee you that going into an environment that's considered dangerous will focus you. That not thrill seeking. I'm just saying in an area where you got to pay attention will allow you to relax and focus. Now, to other people, it might freak them out. So I'm just saying that yes, there's different personalities. There is an abundance of people who complain about being hyperstimulated or understimulated, needing whether it's Adderall or some kind of form of speed. And once in my life, I was driving with a trucker, and he would drive all night for 3 days, and he'd say, "Come on, Rob, let's go for a truck ride." And we'd drive for 3 days through Canada, up and down, up and down. And he used to take these little bathtub meth pills, right? So he said, "Come on." And so he buys these little pills, and we're driving along, getting custody. He said, "Well, here, come on, take these pills." So I take these pills, and it's speed, right? They're like, woo! My whole world becomes a laser beam, right? I'm writing an entire movie script. I'm like sucking in everything I'm doing. But at the end of all this, I didn't do anything. I just thought I did all that, right? So
you just felt like you were capable of.
I just like was on. I was like Superman. Like everything is mine. Anyways, I realized that drugs are a trap. Drugs make you think you're doing something better, but at the same time, you can also train your brain. To hyperfocus, to just put one foot in front of the other until you've actually, done this. So that's part of why this book is 1,000 pages long, because I could just keep writing. I get into this zone where I'm just like.
Well, you write a lot. I mean, this is not your only book. You've written like.
And I travel a lot, and I absorb a lot, and I try to give a lot, and I try to translate a lot.
Yeah, that's not even your articles you've written, all the films you've made, and the scripts you've written, and.
Nuggets, small, worthwhile bits of information that if you take away just one, and it makes you feel like you're in control of your situation, or you're less fearful of something, or you're more interested in something, then I've achieved my job, right? And that's where expertise comes in. It's the wise old guy you want to listen to, not the young smart guy. The wise guy's done what the young guy's done many, many times over and over again. And the old wise guy is going to go, let's go there, let's do this, let's chill and watch what happens. An example of that is I was on safari once. I was in Africa, and I had like a weekend to kill. And these people were paid money for a safari, so they had to go here, they had to go there, they had to get in the bus and go here and there and there, and they got back to the camp. And they're like, "God, there's no animals here. Like, we went all over the place." And I said, "Yeah, but if you get up at 4 o'clock when the animals hunt, like 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, you'll see lots of animals." Like, "What do you mean?" I said, "They'll come to you." Said, like, "No way." And I'm like, "Yeah, just stay up all night with me and we'll watch, see what happens." And so at 3 o'clock, the leopard comes through, the elephants walk through, the hippos come out of the river, and they're like, "Oh my God." I said, "That's the difference." Right? I go where the animals come to me. You go running around in the bus looking for them, but in the daytime, they're all sleeping. They're all off doing whatever.
Yeah, you gotta live on their time.
So that's a lesson in terms of like who to listen to and what advice to follow.
Yeah, that was like one of the most important lessons. So it's like a version of that, but it's just live like the natives, or do what the natives
just watch,
do. So when
listen.
I travel, that's what I do. I'm just like, hey, whatever the shoes he's wearing, I'm gonna wear those. The way he's dressing, I'm gonna dress like that. That's what I'm gonna do.
And that's the point about staying alive, is if you keep communicating with people, making friends, talking about this, talking about that, and your little antenna is out for like con artists or scammers or whatever, they usually take care of you. They usually make sure that you go to the right places, you don't get into trouble, and everything works out fine.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we want the audience to watch and stay tuned that this is the world's most dangerous places, and that it's not just a travel book. There's a bunch of nuggets of information, wisdom, philosophy that come through in this book. And yeah, thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.
And I think we got at least 12 more of these.
We'll be back.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.